Exanima is an unusual game filled with features you won't see elsewhere, probably because no other developer is stupid enough to attempt them, let alone all at once, is a quote from the latest update post for a game that has been in development for over 15 years and is still going. The most insane thing about it is that this was just meant to be a stepping stone to another game. Quite the step indeed when you look at its history, and based on its history, it's not hard to see why things have taken so long. This is a story about a small team building their own tech to create a unique physics-based dungeon crawler, yet in the process, severely, and I mean severely, underestimating the weight of their ambitions with limited resources. And even after they release Exanima, there's still the next project, the project that many people originally funded all those years back. A game that Exanima will provide a foundation for, but as we'll see, has the potential to maybe need to be covered in the 30s. Let's just put it that way. You may have seen some stuff about a game called Half-Sword lately, the demo and now its release into early access. It's a physics-based medieval combat game where each attack is simulated, not so much animated. What does this translate to in reality? Well, to be honest, a lot of this. In most games that have melee, especially earlier ones, an attack would check for whatever overlapped its hitbox, trigger an animation or the other way around, and apply damage. Pretty simple stuff. In medieval slashers like Chivalry and Mordhau, the animation itself would draw a line, and that line checks for contact. What this means is that you actually have control over where that attack lands. Half-Sword also checks for contact, but you're basically just applying force to a physics object rather than playing an animation. And the reason why I'm using it to introduce this style of combat is that its developer, Francesco Tognizzi, included Exanima in an interview as a key source of inspiration. He said that it's the OG and probably still the best physics-based combat game he's ever played. Contact-based melee games have been around for a long time. I mean, even as far back as 1998, there was Die by the Sword that had this VSIM system that basically allows you to swing your weapon around in a variety of ways, and when you make contact, pain is applied. But what I think Exanima did was take this further than anyone else, and really applied physics to combat. Characters move by muscular contractions and physical forces. Every swing matters because every weapon has real weight. All your character does is apply force and movement, and if you miss, you lose your balance, which only opens you up to attack. Or you could be like me, trip over whilst walking backwards, get beaten up by a zombie holding a piece of wood, and once again, get saved by Darren, the best guy ever. The combat system is the first thing worth pointing out because not only is it arguably the main selling point, it's also what decides a refund or not for most people, and it's one of the main complaints you'll see for the game itself. The reason why is because mixed with the isometric view that you'll want to reposition during combat, plus the character relative controls, which means direction is based on where your character is looking, not the camera, movement can be a bit difficult to get used to. Then you have positioning, footwork, timing your attacks, remembering that your aim matters as well as the part of the weapon you actually hit them with, all comes together as a satisfying to master, tricky to get used to system. Thankfully, there is a practice mode in the arena, and the arena mode is its own thing with its own sense of progression. You basically play as a manager who hires fighters to fight people. Outside of playing the campaign, it's actually pretty cool and probably the best place to start when you're trying to get to grips with the game. The best part about combat, especially in the campaign, is that you can use your brain. You can hope for a fence if you want, or attempt to use physics to your advantage. Not all enemies are immediately hostile, especially early on. Some actually fight each other, and some also run away. Anyway, mix all of that into a dungeon crawler with progression, abilities, loot, keys, puzzles, and traps that provide an out-of-body experience, and you've got yourself a pretty decent game. Bare Metal Entertainment is the studio behind this game, and it was set up back in June 2012 by a group of friends led by Maddock Evans, the guy who I quote, wrote every single line of code, with no third-party tech involved. When I say that this is from scratch, I mean it, and that's what was said in their Kickstarter video, not for Exanima, but instead Sui Generis, a game that I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, God help me if I'm not. They launched the Kickstarter for Sui Generis on the 31st of October 2012, and a couple days later, their socials followed, including their YouTube channel that still holds the original concept and early alpha footage. Prior to the Kickstarter, the game was in development for about a year, and that was mostly to build the foundation, the engine and core features that would later define Exanima. The team was working part-time to make the game, and they didn't want to get locked in with an investor, as that could have brought in some negative influence to sway the game away from its intended goal. You could see that even back then, the double to AAA industry started to look a bit poisoned. Sui Generis was sold as a living systemic world, one that, in their words, was carefully designed to be believable and have a life of its own. It is not there to wait for you to go on quests, trigger events, or make decisions. Events will unfold with or without you. There will be no classes, just freeform skill-based builds, permanent consequences, reactive characters, and all within a non-linear story, because as they put it in one of their Kickstarter updates, we dislike linear story. We hate linear story. No, we truly despise linear story. Guys, I think they don't like linear story. At the core of it, with a reasonable amount of time and a fair amount of funding, their pitch might seem pretty straightforward and attainable, especially considering that they already had a solid enough proof of concept. But if you know anything about game dev, you know that it is a deceptively long process, and for these guys, that was taken to the extreme. There were no stretch goals for this campaign, and it ran for a month ending on the 30th of November. Their goal was £150,000. They achieved that plus 10,000 more, which for my majority American audience is about $213,000. At one point, it looked like they weren't going to make it, because in their last update before the end of the campaign, they had to make 21 grand just to get over the line within 24 hours. During the campaign, they made regular updates, posted a decent amount of footage, answered questions, and went into detail about the physics combat. Although, to be fair to some of the criticism towards it, it was pretty much just a tech demo. So before even reaching their funding goal, they brought on a writer to help flesh out the world, and from that, shed a bit more of the lore, which is really important, because when you're putting money down to fund something like an RPG, you're not just buying into the combat system, you're buying into the story. One thing that I think is worth mentioning is that they actually got some help from some pretty big names like Brian Fargo, Total Biscuit, Stephen Fry, Zojoy from Shadowgate, Corey Cole from Hero U, and Obsidian Entertainment. But let's be honest about this Kickstarter. Although it's a nice amount of money to have, for an open world RPG, that funding can easily be spent, if not afford less than a couple years of full-time development. Still a massive achievement and still a big win, although the main takeaway from the Kickstarter is that nearly 7,000 people backed Sui Generis, with no idea that they'll be waiting many years for something similar, yet still something else. Okay, so what is Sui Generis? The game I swear to God I'm pronouncing differently every time I say it. And what is Exanima are interesting questions that are pretty much answered within 2013, Bare Metal's first full year in crowd-funded development. Back when they set up an office in Siena, Italy, hired an environment artist who was actually one of their larger backers, and back when they started to truly realize that they were biting off a bit more than they could chew. In May that year, they made a rather large post that basically goes into detail as to how complicated it is for them to implement something like a dynamic story. There's a lot here, but if you distill the update, you can see that they were questioning what it means to make a meaningful experience, and how much consideration is required to create a truly dynamic story with various choices, consequences, and outcomes, as well as, and very importantly, how to also make NPCs that feel like they genuinely live in the world and aren't just mindless drones. Immersion and believability is a really big thing with these guys. And to back that up, this is one of the quotes that stood out to me. "We are attaching meaning to every single thing, real or conceptual, in the game. Nothing in our world is just a visual prop, and ideally we want NPCs to understand everything they say and do." I think we're all smart enough here to understand that for a small team, that's quite the challenge. Before making any significant moves or adding any real playable content, there were a lot of moving parts to consider, and they were initially intending to release this game sometime in mid-2014. And I'm using their contributions page as a source because it's also worth mentioning that people could still back the project post-Kickstarter via PayPal. In August 2013, the weight of the task was only shared further when they said that Madoc was focusing almost entirely on the AI, building the framework that will support all possible actions a character may take so that they can add specific behaviors properly. What did this mean? Well, it meant that before adding any significant content, they had to build a sturdy foundation that could consider all possibilities. And what makes this really complicated are just how many things need to be considered with how non-linear they want to make the game. To be fair, and to already expose one of the main learning points to this story, this is the smart way to do things, to build a strong foundation, because if you saw the video about the long drive, you'll know the consequences of spaghetti code. So, in summary, because these guys were based in Italy, they had to be extra careful. Now, throughout the year, of course, they were making progress on the foundation so they can actually add content to it. And at one point, they said that they would share this through a video. Unfortunately, though, because there was so much work to do, that was delayed till November. But thankfully, it seemed to be well worth the wait, because outside of the old alpha footage, supporters could see the world in more detail and actually see some improvements to stuff like the combat. Admittedly, the running was a little bit weird, and they managed to fix that pretty quick soon after. But already you can see the vision, you can feel the vibe they're trying to go for with these warm, detailed interiors and believable outdoor spaces. As cool as this was, though, it took nearly a year to get to this point, and they were far from done. Clearly, this was a much bigger task than they initially anticipated, and this is where we get to the big postponement post, posted on the 6th of December 2013. Where, to paraphrase, they decided to reveal sooner than later that they will reprioritize their development goals in a way that is satisfying and easier to manage. So rather than rushing out the release of Sui Generis, they instead focused on a prelude to it, set in the same world, just underground. A prelude that we of course know today as Exanima, although it didn't get that name till a bit later. From a development standpoint, the whole point of the prelude in a very simple way is to provide a playable product much sooner and use it as a vehicle to focus on completing and refining core features, especially and quite importantly with player feedback. In this post, they further explain why their development process seems slow, and it's because to add one thing like a simple character, they have to figure out how to fit that into large complex systems. So, in a nutshell, and I'm well aware I'm saying this in 2026, the reduced scope of Exanima was meant to take off the edge. If you look at the comments under this post, you can see that for the most part, people were in support of this. And to give credit where it's due, these guys are quite upfront and honest about where they are with stuff. They weren't afraid to say that they were overwhelmed. Now, even though they originally planned to get something out by mid-2014 with the main game, Exanima didn't make it to Steam Early Access till the 29th of April 2015. So since that postponement post, it took well over a year to get something playable on the market. Although, to be fair, prior to this in March 2014, backers gained access to the Combat Alpha, then later in July there was the Combat Beta, then a few months after that in October, Exanima got its name and it became accessible on the website to those who backed it. In regards to Steam specifically, this is where a bit of a meme is born, because after getting greenlit in March 2015 and releasing it to early access in April, the store page, even to this day, says that the game will be in early access for around 6 to 9 months, give or take 3. Honestly, I want to say mad respect for leaving that up, because people have gone from school to full-blown careers with a family in the time since then to now. With the game now purchasable and playable, Bare Metal had 2 things: a new source of income and a new source of player feedback. Coverage at the time was interesting because, to many people, this was still a very new thing. The same funny physics combat system and highly interactive environment held up as a strong, unique selling point, especially considering that around this time you already had chivalry medieval warfare fans like myself looking for another sword fighting game to crash out on, as well as Dark Souls and the Souls series in general still being very prominent in discussion. Even though, let's be honest, the whole Souls-like thing never really stopped, and Exanima's vague connection to that tag actually helped it out. The game was in the right place at the right time. To summarize the initial response, it was largely positive, if not optimistic. On the negative side of things that you'll see quite frequently throughout its history, even to this day, is that the controls are quite difficult to get used to, and I think also back then more specifically, there wasn't really that much content. But a key point to note is that it came to Steam as a 0.5 build, meaning that it was halfway to coming out of early access, and 2015 ended with 0.6. For a first year in early access, it was pretty good, in the way that they also made a whole bunch of quality of life improvements. They added a skill and technique system, physics traps, mechanisms and puzzles, a whole new area, a full animation and control overhaul. They even upgraded the enemy AI to have moods, memory, and the decision to ambush you like a sneaky rat. And as well as the beginnings of an arena mode, they made it possible to fight with your fists, like a Brit abroad looking for the next bag. However, as good as all this was, 2016 came around the corner pretty fast, and it wouldn't be till July 2018 when they finally made it to build 0.7. Then a couple years after that, in April 2020, build 0.8. And there are still 6 years after that. Now, before zooming out and asking any big questions, it's worth looking at what happened during their journey from 0.6.1 to 0.6.5, because this appeared to be the last time for a long time where updates were relatively consistent. And it's the time in its history that really starts to explain why things became so slow. 2016 cracked on with a good couple months worth of new stuff, skills, further improvements to core systems like combat with the ability to thrust, counter with shields, switch weapons, even go unconscious so fighting isn't always a life and death situation. And of course, on top of all this stuff, there was a lot of fine-tuning, a lot of refinements, and all around, it was good progress. But during this time, you could really start to see a common thread becoming more prominent, and it only re-emerged a few months later in September. You see, they were working towards some major features to support the rest of the story content, to bring it to its full conclusion, and in the meantime wanted to add some new stuff. But as to no surprise, adding stuff to a game that's so custom built isn't so simple, because in this case, when they tried to add new skills and arena features, it placed some demands that their intricately built systems couldn't meet. So what this meant is that they had to do one of their most thorough and extensive overhauls to the animation system. To add to their honesty, this is what they said: improving animation and gameplay has been a constant and often fruitless struggle from the first day of development. Realistically, we'll never consider it truly finished, but this latest iteration has certainly brought them to a new level. With highly bespoke systems that need to consider many possible outcomes, a lot of effort is required to move forwards, because as you can imagine, the moment you add something that isn't supported, problems occur. But this is where we really start to see, if not feel, the scale of that. Because to add to all of this, 2017 began unironically with an update called Heading for Completion. And in summary, they pointed out how difficult it has been to break an endless cycle of improving core features instead of focusing on adding what's needed to finish the game. In that post, they also added that the terrain system they had, that was of course needed for the main game anyway, was fundamentally outdated by the time they improved and optimized everything else. So much so that it didn't even make sense to use the system they built, and basically had to go back to the drawing boards to build one that could support all the new and improved stuff. Thankfully, they managed to break through and get it done. But for 2017, after a couple more updates in February where they added some new content, new arena levels, and made even more improvements, that was it for the year. And this is where we get into the kind of once a year update cycle. And when I mean kind of, I mean that 2018, 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023 each had one, whereas 2019 had 3. To throw a well actually in there, you could see more activity on SteamDB, but most people don't check that site, and it's the big posts that push a bunch of stuff that stands out the most. Version-wise, the updates throughout those 5 years went from about 0.7 to 0.9. Then after that is a 30-month journey to 0.9.5. That is 30 months. We'll get into that in a bit. First things first, it may look like they went radio silent in between these updates if you only look at Steam. Now, although there have been periods of silence, there has also been activity on their forums, especially during this time period where they had a weekly coffee diary that went through the things that they managed to achieve as well as the challenges they were trying to tackle. They also shared links to these posts on Twitter, but I couldn't really see anything on Steam actually directing people to the forums, or at least promoting it. No update was without a lot of effort. These guys weren't slacking, but every step forwards came with a rebuild, overhaul, or upgrade to core systems to make any amount of progress. Just to throw a few examples at you, when they tried to add more creature types in May 2019, the unique proportions and movement for new creatures meant that they had to make extensive changes to the core character motion. There was also a complete rebuild for the AI combat system to make enemies more varied and tactical in approach. When they added a flail to the game, that was also quite a deceptively difficult task. The reason why, of course, was largely down to physics. And when they added the first companion, Darren, in July 2018, there was a simple dialogue system built, as well as unique behaviors that only became more complicated later down the line, because, to quote their ambitions, they said, "We want all our AI encounters to appear like living, thinking beings, not mindless drones that blindly perform a specific task. They are driven by emotions and other states of mind. They have varying personalities. They remember interactions with others and form relationships. They have social and non-selfish behaviors." So yeah, that's another very complex system, a really cool one that they wanted to throw on top of everything else. Now, of course, a lot more happened in those 5 years. It's good progress, I am rushing through to save time, but it's the same broken record that will be broken again. Development is a story of rebuilding the ground below them just to take a step forward. And it's great to know that, right? But aside from the fact that the team remained pretty small, there was also the hard reality of just putting your game on the market. On the forums, there's a post made by Madoc in August 2017 where they said that when they released it, they rapidly fell into a cycle of constant refinement in response to feedback. I'm pretty damn sure that there's a lot of perfectionism in play when it comes to improving stuff and redoing things. But to be fair, that's not the entire motivation. A lot of this was driven by user feedback, which is just a natural part of the process. And I've said this in other videos before, you'll never truly know how rough your game, product, website, or anything is till you release it to the public. So to be clear about it, you've got all these complex core systems that rely on each other, you've got content that needs to be accounted for, you've also got feedback and a high standard to live up to. You've got all of this on the shoulders of a small team with a big dream. And according to a comment made by a supporter on a video by Robaz in December 2018, it was a team of 6 people by then, with all but one working another job. Gonna take that with a pinch of salt, didn't dig that deep into how the team changed over time, but yeah, as far as I could tell, Madoc was the sole coder for most of it. The man plugged full time into the machine, manifesting the physics and running into doors whilst explaining stuff.
We just talked about rigid bodies.
Now, of course, during this time, lockdown happened, and for better reasons or worse, this gave people more free time to play games and consume content about games. The impact that this had on Exanima coverage-wise wasn't massive by the looks of it in terms of volume, but there were some pretty big YouTubers who brought many more eyes to it. The game by this point had enough content for you to sink a few hours in, and it largely left a good impression. Let's be honest, the physics combined with the dark and serious setting is pure comedy. And you can see in these videos that regardless of how long it's already been in early access, it has the capacity to be a lot of fun. You've seen this before with other games stuck in early access where the concept is already interesting, the game already provides some kind of content, and regardless of how far away it is from the finish line, right now you can get something out of it. Even before this time, those who have covered it made it clear in their video that it's had a long time in development, so those getting into it now kind of already know the situation. If it didn't already, it solidified its status as a slow early access, with updates so infrequent they became an occasion to celebrate, if not remind people that the game still exists. As much as people have their own criticisms, each update also seems to be well received, which I wouldn't be surprised if for them this justifies the caution they take with their process, as well as the chaos. As you can imagine, Update 0.9 was pretty big in the way that the game was probably not that far away from 1.0. To be fair, it did take about 5 years to go from 0.7 to 0.9, but to get from 0.9 to 0.9.5, it took about 2 years and 7 months. This was self-admittedly an unusually long time between updates. However, this is meant to be the last update till the 1.0 release, where in their own words, there'll be no more major engine or system work. And when you look at the amount of stuff they did, it's kind of believable, but we will get round to why that might not be. To start with, the biggest visible addition were the gardens. This whole new area with a lot of plants. Plants that required some optimization improvements to be made to the rendering engine. Because the game has been in development for so long now and tech is advanced in that time, they decided to move from 32-bit to 64, which wouldn't have been the most simple process, yet of course for them, because everything's so custom, it wasn't so straightforward. They had to port the entire engine, game, all the development tools, and code. Speaking of code, they had to redesign and rewrite their handwritten performance-critical assembly code that basically gives instructions to your hardware just to get things to work. The terrain and ground system also underwent a major rework to support more and richer materials, better blending, 3D detail, shadows, grass, and of course, small plants. With this came a complete overhaul of all related assets, let alone the expansion of their toolset and engine functionality to support advanced sculpting features. They made a further extensive content overhaul for the Catacombs map, expanding it, and also completely remastering the Golem map. They added new thaumaturgy that they left as a bit of a secret for players to discover themselves. They also overhauled the AI combat, again, increasing the skill cap for more advanced enemies while lowering it for lesser ones. And as if all that wasn't already enough to do, they rewrote their physics engine. This was done for multiple reasons. One is for optimization. For example, objects find it easier to settle down. This is good because it means less random physics to be processed. Another reason, quite a big one, is combat. Before, weapons, especially thinner ones at high speeds, had a good chance of phasing through each other. As you can imagine, for a game that has quite challenging combat, you want this to be as accurate as possible. You don't want people to feel like they've been cheated. And another reason for this rewrite was cloth. They made cloth and fabric or hair-like materials react in a pretty believable way. For some people, it might seem like a bit of a weird thing to worry about, but for a game that prides itself on an interactive environment, it only adds to that level of detail. Although, that being said, of course, on the top of this came an overhaul to the character physics. And speaking of characters, they've been creating this whole role system to basically drive NPC behavior, which, to be very surface level with their own paragraphs on screen, is their attempt to make NPCs respond dynamically to the world as well as toward triggered events, rather than it all being scripted and linear. Imagine giving an NPC a set of roles that influence their actions and then have emotions change those roles. Even they say it's difficult to explain, but the gist is, we want NPCs to actually respond with the world in their own dynamic way. We already heard them mention this a while ago, it was theory crafted, and now it's in process. It's easy to roll your eyes at the amount of overhauls, rewrites, and upgrades to the core systems. But to be fair, what this amounts to is a much more refined product. And that's what all this time spent has largely amounted to, a more refined foundation for future content, and eventually an open world RPG with emergent quests, unique reactive NPCs who feel like a part of the world, and I assume many scenarios that can be approached in whatever way you choose. Exanima could release out of early access today, tomorrow, this month, or the next year. But the question I have is, how much longer will people who have already been waiting a long time for Sui Generis specifically have to wait to see it done? In fact, I have no doubt that it will be done faster than Exanima, but what does that mean? Only 10 years? 5? Hopefully 2. That'll be the dream. You already know the outcome of version 0.9.5. However, the coffee diaries prior to it tell a story of detours being made to fix something, or them having to gut out the engine just to make the progress they need. If you've ever had to make something that's quite complex, you would know that the time spent making it, including the mistakes, is all the time you would have needed to make it in the first place. Hindsight is a great thing once you step out the car, and a lot of what they've done was built to consider future plans. But realistically, you can't account for every little thing, and it could be that the plans they have for Sui Generis to get it done are ultimately undermined by the smallest of things. The smallest of things that is needed, yet requires some kind of long-winded overhaul or rework. Look, it's good to see that Exanima is its own thing. A lot of people have bought into it specifically, and there's a community behind it that are happy to see it still going, regardless of the wait. Again, if you knew it was going to be like this going in, or have long accepted the process, what's another year? I won't claim that it's the best thing ever. It has its issues and it won't ever be perfect, but it does provide something, and it is worthy of the love it gets. Yet still, that doesn't mean people aren't valid in hating the process or feeling deceived about it. It's one thing for the game to not be up to taste, It's another to wake up 11 years since early access began and remember that this was meant to be a 6 to 9 months, maybe more stepping stone. You could argue that Exanima is close to what people initially funded anyway, so stop whining about it. But there is a difference between a dungeon crawler and an open world RPG. The error was their naivety, severely underestimating the work and overpromising the delivery time with the resources they had. And now they stand fully accepting that, trying to keep things going without messing up the whole thing. Of course, I can't see the future and I don't actually know what's going to happen with Sui Generis. I think that's a question for us to discuss in the comments, but I wouldn't be too surprised if it does see a similar cycle with enough bumps in the road. Either way, I wish them the best and we'll definitely come back to this sometime in the 2030s. It does sound like a joke, but I'm being serious here. That might be the case. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like and consider subscribing. Every little bit helps. And of course, a massive thanks to the supporters from Patreon and the members who join this channel. Each member also adds a number of cans or items to the end of the video, so hopefully one day we can fill up this room, who knows. And with that being said, a massive shout out to those who yield many cans. Gibbles by the Dozen, the Cuddly Bop, Negadan, the One with Severed Toes, Abaddon Dubs, the Meatly, Durham Trollfist, Basto, Ali.Lair, King Delirious, Scotched Eggs, Big Ram, Grimber, Jolly Fella, Julie, Roland Deshane, Jer, and Pagos. See you in the next one, and yes, I did get sent back to the portal. But there is a difference between a dungeon crawler and an open world RPG. The error was their naivety, severely underestimating the work and overpromising the delivery time with the resources they had. And now they stand fully accepting that, trying to keep things going without messing up the whole thing. Of course, I can't see the future and I don't actually know what's going to happen with Sui Generis. I think that's a question for us to discuss in the comments, but I wouldn't be too surprised if it does see a similar cycle with enough bumps in the road. Either way, I wish them the best and we'll definitely come back to this sometime in the 2030s. It does sound like a joke, but I'm being serious here. That might be the case.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered. The original game is potentially older than some of you watching this video, but now it's 2025 and the game is back. In the time between the original release, I have exploited, bugged, and glitched it many times. Oh, and I have created some incredibly broken things. But this is different. This isn't just another Oblivion video. We have a remaster from new developers who've had years to fix all of the absurd exploits of the game. And fix, they have. The scroll item duping glitch, yep, that's gone. Dorian infinite paralysis money glitch, yep, that's also gone. And so with that, ladies and gents, I have to say that I am in fact certain that yes, Oblivion Remastered will be a perfectly balanced game with no exploits. But just to be safe, just in case some exploits remain, I have to play the game. And if we want to break this game, we're going to need a legendary being. To push this game to its limits, we're going to need Rianu Keeves. Rianu Keeves is the greatest gaming creation I have ever made. He beats Skyrim with a fork, and is so breathtaking he can physically suck all the air from your lungs. Today, however, I want to create an imperceivable god that cannot be stopped by anything. So get comfortable, grab yourself a cup of tea, and let's dive into this video. Right, and so I have created our hero, the wonderful Rianu Keeves. Of course, when any character is ported into the Oblivion Remastered engine, they do end up with a slight uncanny valley about them. That said, he is much nicer to look at than the first character I made on my test playthrough.
Gods give me strength.
Gods give me strength too, Emperor Luriel Septim. So yes, the plotline is the same as the previous game. Mr. Emperor here is unfortunately going to be ambushed in the sewers and murdered. However, in the remastered version, we're able to do something about this. Yeah, that's right, you're used to the Emperor dying in the tutorial with no way to save him or get anything from him. But today, we're going to do something different. For the first time in Oblivion history, we're going to change the timeline.
Just stay out of our way.
So yes, away we go. Off into the dungeons. Now you'll notice I just got my first level, that's in acrobatics. That's because just like the previous Oblivion, all you have to do in order to level up your stats is repeatedly do an action. For acrobatics, you jump over and over again. For sneaking, you of course stealth near enemies. For fortifying, you'll say destruction magic. Yeah, you've got to cast some fireballs. Oh look, the assassins are here, quick. Hit them with fireballs and look, a bit of destruction experience. You know, I'm gonna actually ascend my power level. Oh yeah, now we're getting ready. Look at the wrinkly body. So yes, we've been left completely by ourselves, abandoned by the Emperor, and expected to somehow survive. If we take a look at our character, we're level 1. We have really bad stats. When it comes to our skills, yeah, they're all really quite bad as well. The one advantage we do have is that we're playing as a Breton. And for those of you unaware of the lore, Bretons are basically half elf, half humans. And as a result, they're very gifted when it comes to magicka. Thanks to the humanity in them, they also have strong resistance to magic. Being able to resist 50% of magic is hilariously strong. But of course, as I said, our stats are very low. And I want to turn Rianu Keeves into a god, and that means he needs to get better. And in order to get better, we need to level up. In order to level up, we need to improve our skills. And remember, we improve by doing, like jumping for acrobatics. And as fun as it would be to just jump on this spot for the next half an hour, I think I can probably do something else. Now, many of you might remember this next section, for there's a couple of rats here that you get to fight. But most interestingly, there's a very unique thing. These rats are scared of this zombie, an even more powerful enemy. And entertainingly, in order to showcase just how scary they are, the developers decided to do something interesting. They took the aggro off of the rats. You see, this rat here was apparently so scared of the zombie, they no longer perceive us, the player, as a threat. This creates a little bit of an interesting predicament. Because the rats are technically classed as hostile, but they won't attack us, this means we're in combat. So yes, what we can do is actually level up our sneak. Simply by walking around here left and right, we're able to improve our sneak stat. This exploit existed in the first Oblivion game, and it was incredibly overpowered. But the developers here have also been very nice, because they've granted us with the auto move key. If you're on PC, simply press Q and then run into this wall. You're technically moving, and consequently you're technically leveling up your sneak stat. So I'm gonna go leave my PC, go make myself a nice cup of tea, and when we come back, Rianu Keeves here will have leveled up his sneak quite a bit. Right, and so after a lot of time has passed, we have managed to level up our sneak. And all I've done is literally smash my head into a brick wall next to 2 scared rats. We've now managed to achieve a sneak rating of 100. So yeah, we are now a master stealth man. We make less noise, we deal extra damage, but now at master it means that our sneak attacks ignore an opponent's armor. That's pretty snazzy. Anyway, these rats, they've served their purpose, but unfortunately, they must die. Rest in peace, Rattos. Thank you for your service. You know, I should try my sneak attacks out. Let me grab this bow and arrow. Right, I've now become Skyrim's stealth archer, Rianu Keeves. Let's go. Yeet! Sneak attack. It's a one-hit kill. Oh, there's a goblin. Right, let's get him. Yeet! Okay, even though I've shot him, he still can't fully aggro onto me. That's just how good my sneak skill is. That is the power of playing with stealth. You can become an unstoppable shadow that no one's able to defeat. Now into the final room. We've got a goblin right here, so we're just gonna get him with another sneak attack. Bounce around this corner. My goodness. Yes, stealth archery is back. Sneak attack. Oh, yes. And we've got a wizard over there. Sneak attack. Followed by another sneak attack. Oh, yes. Todd, you've done it again. You've made another stealth archer game. Alright, so now we're just in time to hop back into the Imperial sewers and say hello to our good friend, the Emperor. Alright, here we are. Hello!
They cannot understand why I trust you.
Anyway, now we get to pick our star sign. I think some of these have been changed since the original. For example, the Lord sign now gives you increased armor rating and magic resistance, which is pretty good. And that's actually what we're going to go with today, which, stacking on top of our existing 50, gives us 65% less damage from all magical sources. We've almost reached the point where we can say we no longer believe in magic. Okay, now coming up to this section here is when we can do something ever so slightly cheesy. Basically, what happens here is we try and escape that way, we can't do it, and then we go into this room where the Emperor is going to be assassinated by an evil assassin who comes through this doorway here. And the Emperor standing here is going to get murdered. However, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to stand here and defend the Emperor and guard him with my life. There we go. And then what's going to happen here is a large amount of assassins will be fighting over there in that doorway. And you see, from the comfort of this window, I'm able to attack these assassins. And the interesting thing is, these assassins are just going to keep spawning in. Because I'm sat in front of the door, the scripted assassination scene can't trigger. And because the Emperor is still alive, these enemies will keep on spawning over and over again. So there we go, that's another wave of assassins have been murdered. A new wave will then run on in, and I can sit here in this doorway repeatedly shooting them. I mean, when you're in first person, you actually can't aim around this corner, but in third person, we can bend the arrows around the wall. Now, this is perfectly balanced gameplay, and exactly the way the developers intended it to be played. All right, well, I am starting to run out of arrows, so I think I might take this opportunity to call an end to this exploit. A marksman stat of 18 is pretty decent. So, yep, let's have a little chat with the Emperor. You can go no further. Okay, thank you, Emperor. Anyway, the assassin is going to just walk through me and then murder the Emperor, and oh no! Emperor Oriol Septim is dead. How could you?
Talos save us.
Talos save us indeed. Right, and now we get to decide our class. Of course, we'll go for a custom class, one which focuses on magic. We're going to favor the attributes of luck and personality, because who doesn't like a little bit of extra riz? Next up, we need to choose our major skills. These skills receive a plus 20 level bonus and increase much faster. All right, and here we go. We've completed our class build. It should be perfectly balanced. Now it needs a new name. It's going to be Cheese Lord. Yes, create the Cheese Lord class. Now we can go into this room here where the assassination happened, and we just look at this. It's a nightmare. Oh, we found the body of Glenroy. He's just stacked underneath him, beneath a pile of 700 assassins. Oh, there's some of my arrows. I'll take those. Yeah, this is magical. Some of the bodies are starting to even despawn. Huzzah, and we arrive into the sewers as the Cheese Lord class, ready to level up in many regards, and with some new magic under our control. Because we have some skill in conjuration, we can summon a skeleton. I mean, look, there's a goblin over there. Wabam, let's bring in a skeleton to fight for us. Go, Skelly Boy, go! Yeah, he killed the rat. Come on, fight the goblin. Fight the goblin. Where are you going? Skelly Boy, you're meant to be defending me. Do your job, Skelly Boy. As a second goblin. Good job, skeleton. Well done! So here we have it, the end of the tutorial. We have now escaped the sewers. We do so with a skeleton companion. We did so with a skeleton companion, but we leave significantly more powerful than when we arrived. So, let's go break this game. Right, so I've crossed over to Volverin, where we finally have ourselves a bed to sleep in. Now, sleeping in a bed is great, because it's the only way to actually level up. So we can have ourselves a quick little nap, and wabam, we've ascended to level 2. From here, we can then sink in some skill points. Intelligence and willpower are both great for mages, agility is great for archers, and personality is great for people trying to break the economy. Now, of course, we start out with a fair amount of advantages on our side, but we have only 69 gold. Nice. So we need to make more money. We also need to become more powerful. We need to truly break the game. Now, unlike most starts, I'm not going to run straight to the market district and start duping scrolls. That's because that exploit was removed from the game. Instead, we're going to use a different method. But first, we need to tidy up our inventory a bit, and that means a trip to Waynon Priory. This is going to allow me to hand off the Amulet of Kings to the Master of the Blades, so that way I no longer have any quest items in my inventory.
I'm Brother Joffrey.
Here, I brought you the Amulet of Kings.
This cannot be.
So there we go, we've dropped off the amulet, so my inventory is now nice and simple. We have no quest items, we only have a bunch of rubbish. Now, with this bunch of rubbish, we're going to do something pretty crazy. We're going to make ourselves a lot of money. Now what we're going to do is use these two lovely barrels here to commit a little bit of hyperinflation. You don't have to use barrels, but these two bad boys are perfectly positioned next to each other to allow me to do something pretty crazy. What we're going to do is drop basically every single item we have inside of our inventory, bar 2 inside of this barrel here. All that I've got left in my inventory are 35 lockpicks. Not exactly the most useful item in the game, but we're going to do something quite magical with them. For you see over here, we have a chameleon scroll. It's worth 58 gold. So with our inventory safely stored in this barrel, we're going to head on over to the empty barrel, press F so that way we can bring up our own inventory and safely deposit in our 35 lockpicks. Now this exploit is rather simple. You have the item on the left, which is what we're going to be duplicating, and the stack of items on the right, which determines the quantity we're going to get. We have 35 lockpicks, we have 1 chameleon scroll. Once this exploit is complete, we will have 35 chameleon scrolls. Now remember, this game has had years to patch all of these exploits, and this development team has done their best to tidy up as many of the glitches as they can. And yet, this duplication exploit is as simple as dragging from the right side of the screen to the other, then simply clicking on the item inside of your inventory, and it will be sent back into the barrel. Now what we have is 35 chameleon scrolls inside of a barrel, and our 35 lockpicks. That's quite interesting indeed. But it doesn't just work with scrolls, it can work with pretty much anything. This potion of healing, for example, that's going to be mightily expensive indeed. So we'll drag our lockpicks back over, select the potion of healing. Did I just duplicate my own gold? I just did. I just dragged the scrolls over and it just duplicated my gold. It's doing it again. Oh my goodness. Okay, so basically, when you drag the item over, it tries to target something in your inventory to duplicate to this quantity. In our case, by dragging the chameleon scroll over and clicking continue, instead of targeting the lockpicks in our inventory, it's targeting our gold. So we get 35 gold spawned out of thin air. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 2025 and Oblivion has just been granted its first gold glitch and the game just crashed. Praise be to you, Todd. You've done it again. Okay, I'm back pulling off this exploit again, and it's just really weirdly broken. The inventory transfer system in this game is just scuffed. So basically, I can drag this chameleon scroll into my inventory, click continue, and then it just picks an item from my inventory and just makes more of it. So I now have 104 Ken Boulette cap. I can aim it over here, and there you go. I'm gonna have 35 clay bowls. If I aim it down here, what do I get? Oh, I get some clouded funnel caps. Very fun. What if I aim it right up at the top? Wha-bam. It's more clouded funnel caps. All right, and so we can just keep doing this over and over again and getting a whole bunch of items. We now have 208 potions of healing that we've just summoned into the world. Am I over encumbered? Yeah, I'm over encumbered. Yeah, we need to store some of these away, but quite a lot of them are going to get sold off here for money. This is going to be the first time where I actually need to buy myself a house, because by storing items here, they can despawn over time. So yeah, let me just quickly scoliosis strut my way over to the shop. Perfect. We're going to go over to Aurelenway here, and we're going to sell her some of our potions, because we don't need all of them. And we can even do a little bit of haggling. So how about we do a little bit of basic haggling, and wha-bam. How would you like 15 of my potions? Oh, that's more gold than you actually have. Sell 4 potions for 236 gold. Perfect. It works. Sell 29 potions of healing for 171 gold. Yes, go. Perfect, we now have 2,000 gold, and we'll do it again. Now, although traders technically have infinite gold, they do have a limit per interaction, so we have to sell bit by bit. Don't ask why this is the case, just accept Todd's superior game design. And each time we're doing this, we're actually gaining some mercantile skills as well. Alright, now that this person absolutely loves me, I think I'm going to be able to up my haggling game. There we go, let's get up to 80% of the item's value. Let's sell some of these potions. Here we go, 760 gold, give it to me. Yes, there we go. Big money making now. And there we go, just like that, we've sold all of our potions of healing, and we now have 13,000 gold in the bank. Splendid. Now with the money we have in the bank, we're going to go over to Calandal here. We want something expensive to duplicate, like a Grand Soul Gem. So we'll buy 1 Grand Soul Gem.
I appreciate your business.
For 344 gold. Thank you, Calandal. Then we'll go back out into the market, and we'll get to duping this bad boy. Let's go. Just got to find myself some barrels to put stuff in. All right, so we'll safely drag out these soul gems onto this. Oh crap, the game crashed again. Todd! Right, so I'm back, and I spent a long old time duplicating and selling soul gems. So now we have a lot of gold, but not only that, we've also managed to max out our mercantile skill just from repeatedly selling items. So now we get the best possible prices wherever we shop. Don't ask how repeatedly trading with only one person is making Rianu Keeves the greatest merchant mind in the universe. You don't want the answer. So there we go, we've done it. We now have more money than we'll ever rationally need. However, we do still have a few limitations. Namely, we don't actually have a place to live, which is quite a predicament indeed. Because if we had a place to live, then we'd have a place to store all of our rubbish. So it's time for us to make a very treacherous journey. This might be the most perilous adventure Rianu Keeves has faced. That's right, we're going to and estate agents.
All I have available right now is a hovel on the waterfront.
Well, I just happen to have 2,000 gold, so I'd love that house.
You may want to spruce it up a bit with some furnishings.
And there we go, we've bought ourselves a hovel. And then if we go find Sergius to speak to, we can spruce it up a little bit.
You won't find better prices in all Tamriel.
I would like a dining area, thank you. I would like a kitchen area, thank you. I would like a sitting area, thank you. Like a storage area, I would like wall hangings. Yay! I've now bought everything for my house in the Imperial City. Very cool. Right, okay, with the house purchased and all of my rubbish picked up, I've slowly waltzed my way, and I mean very slowly waltzed my way across the Imperial City, just so I can get to my door. Because now I can finally offload my massively large quantity of duplicated items into these boxes without fear of having it all stolen. Here we go. Look, a chest. Perfect. Please take all of my rubbish. Unsurprisingly, I don't need 104 Bulletti caps or a broom or 35 clay bowls. I mean, they're actually not worth anything. They're so useless. Why am I carrying it? All right, and there we go. With everything dropped off, oh my goodness, I can move at normal speeds again. Oh, Rihanna, it's wonderful. And look, we actually have ourselves a home, and we can sit by the fire, and we I forget how derpy you look, but you're beautiful. So the next logical step is to sleep and level up, and then I want to improve another one of my stats. To be specific, the security perk. It's a very useful skill to level up, because being able to unlock certain areas can make solving quests very easy indeed. And considering we're the stealthiest being in the universe, I feel like we should have that skill. So I'm going to rest on up a bit. Then I can level up to level 4 and take a few points into speed and agility. Fantastic, we're doing great. Anyway, right, what we're going to do is level up our security stat, and the way you would normally do this is by lockpicking things. Now, the interesting thing about the lockpicking minigame is you get experience from setting a tumbler in the correct place and also successfully picking the lock, or even failing to pick the lock. All of these things grant experience. So yes, we could repeatedly fail this lock over and over again and get experience, but then we'd run out of lockpicks. Alternatively, the smarter way to do this is to push up the tumbler and then have it set in place, like so. From here on out, we can do something very entertaining. If we click, you'll notice that, ooh, the level up sound just played. That's very interesting indeed. But we're not getting into this lock. Oh, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's because someone over at Bethesda accidentally made it so that when you click your lockpick upwards, you gain experience. But if the tumbler is set in place, your lockpick isn't damaged. This means that every time we click our mouse button, we get security experience without there being any risk at all. So, of course, I'm just going to hold down my auto clicker and I'm going to gain a decent amount of security experience without doing anything at all. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. I do believe we have a completed security mastery. Huzzah! Yes, 100! All it required was Rianu Keeves here sitting in front of a door, repeatedly jiggling the lock over and over again for 10 minutes. He didn't even unlock the lock in the end, but hey, he's still the greatest locksmith in the universe. That's just how video games work. Yes, with all of that extra experience, I'm going to go back into my house and have another little sleep. Well, today we've got a great offer at Spivco. The first 15,000 people to like this video won't be visited by Rianu Keeves in their sleep tonight. Isn't that great? What a shame for all those who didn't like the video in time. I won't forget you. Right, back to the video. Now that Rianu Keeves is the wealthiest and stealthiest man alive, it's time to make him an absolute god when it comes to combat. And so for that, we'll start by purchasing some absurdly overpowered items. Starting here with Hamloff Redtooth.
What do you want?
He sells the Spectre Ring. Now, interestingly, if you've ever played Oblivion before, you've never seen this item. That's because in the original game, Hamloff here was meant to sell it. However, the developers accidentally put this item inside of a random NPC you can't trade with. As a result, the item existed in the game but could never be obtained. Luckily for us, Hamloff here is ready to part with it, and it's a very powerful thing indeed. So for the low cost of 8,000 gold, it is now ours. Right, so we've grabbed some improved equipment, and now we can start popping it on. Wabam! We're looking a bit more snazzy, yeah! Do the colors clash? Yes, they do. Does it matter to me? No, because I am now shiny and glowing. I can even put on this ring, but when I do, I gain a little bit of chameleon, which means I'm now partially invisible.
Morning.
However, I am still detectable. This NPC, for example, knows where I am, And that is because if we go into our current status effects, you can see that our chameleon is only at a magnitude of 25%, meaning we are 25% undetectable. So my goal is pretty simple. I want to become completely imperceivable in this game. If your character has 100% chameleon, they no longer become registered by the AI. When in the hands of a mage character who can use conjuration magic, that generally trivializes certain aspects of the game. So we need to do a couple of quests to get some items to help buff our chameleon stat. Oh my goodness, look, we've traveled and my head has come back into rendering distance, but my body hasn't. Oh dear, the chameleon spell works in mysterious ways. Oh dear, we're gonna have to take off this ring. I can't take it seriously with half my body missing, but my head still appearing. I took it off, but the effect is still remaining. Oh dear, is this another bug in the game? Is it perfectly balanced video game as always? Right, here's our new staff that basically just hits an enemy with every possible effect. It's the classic 1-2-3 punch. Is that a bandit on the road there? Yeah, I can see some kind of bandit. Look at him. Hello there, you a highwayman or are you just a random passing individual? Oh my goodness, yeah, you are a bandit. Okay, right. Staff. Okay, I get the feeling that the staff is pretty powerful indeed. Yeah, this staff is just good. You just waltz up to an enemy, click, and it dies. It's like the Oblivion equivalent of running around with a gun. And I guess, also like a gun, we need to occasionally reload it, but with soul gems, not bullets. Anyway, here is Meridia's Shrine, just up this hill. Wabam, hello, it is nice to see you, God. Well, one of the many gods. And we should be able to get ourselves a quest line.
Not Meridia.
Okay, and the voice line just cuts off. Okay, great work, Todd. Right, so the Daedra here has told me that there's a cult of necromancers nearby that she wants me to defeat, and in doing so, she will reward me with a prize. So yes, that is exactly what we're going to do. Right, so here we are at the Howling Cave, the site of those evil, dastardly necromancers. Let's go murder them. So into the dungeon we go. We should have some lovely evil necromancers in here. Oh, actually, even more dangerous. It's a mud crab. And here we go. We start seeing the undead. We've got a skeleton guardian. Oh, you've got a lot of health. Right, hit you with a zappy stick. How about you? You got health? Good stuff. And then off down in this direction. Yes, do we have more enemies? No, this is a... Oh, it is a hidden doorway. Lovely. Right, down into the lower galleries we go to face the necromancers. Oh, yep, that looks like a necromancer to me. Right, zappy. And... fireball. Oh no, he immediately got some of his health back. Right, hit him with a zappy stick. Zappy stick. Zappy stick. Zappy stick. Oh, my zappy stick is out of power. I'm going to die here. This went rather poorly, didn't it? Yes, that's our first death. Right, well, let's do this again, but instead with more power on the zappy stick. Right, zappy stick, zappy stick, zappy stick, zappy stick. And then we can leave this environment. There we go. We leave the room. Okay, we have probably 2 more charges on zappy stick. So we come back into the room, and then, yep, we can see the necromancers now waltzing off because they feel that they've dealt with me. Nice. So they won't notice me if I just sneak on in like a little lunatic. Oh, black soul gem. Perfect. Now I just need to find one of the necromancers, blow them up.
Where are you?
Oh my goodness, I can hear someone. Hello. Zap the necromancer. Just repeatedly zap the necromancers. Right, there we go. Staff of Storms. It works. Keep hitting the necromancers. There we go. Zap and zap. I got you. You didn't even have time to heal. There should be like 1 necromancer left somewhere over here. Right, zap, 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 zap. Here we go. Yeah. Yeah, this is it. Oh, this is it. Zap. Big zapping. Yeah, let's see you do anything. And so that we can now make our way out of the dungeon as a glorious hero. And by hero, I mean I murdered all of these people. Really good. Fantastic. So we make our way back to the shrine and we can tell our god the good news. Hello there, Meridia. Guess what? The necromancers are dead. And so just like that, we have been awarded with the wonderful Ring of Khajiit, which we can wear at the same time as our other Spectre ring. Now, what does the Ring of Khajiit do? A great question, I hear you say. Well, we can check out our magic system here, and you can see that the Ring of Khajiit is giving us 35% chameleon enchantment. For that exact reason, we are now at a magnitude of 60 chameleon. We are even harder to detect. When we stealth better than anyone. However, we're still missing a further 40% of the chameleon stat before we can become truly invisible to this entire game's universe. Alright, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be making our way to Kvatch, because in order to get the next bits of chameleon armor we need, we're going to need to get ourselves a sigil stone. It can only be retrieved by entering into a gate of oblivion. So it's up the mountain we go, up the mountain we go. I've got a bunch of resistances and I'm ready to fight some scamps. Oh yes, things have gotten spooky, and look at that, it's an oblivion gate, looking better than ever before. Stand back, civilian. I'm no civilian. I am Rianu Keeves. Now, of course, because I am higher level, instead of there being just standard imps here, we have an entire flame Atronak instead. They're spicy, aren't they? Some would say. All right, there we go. I'm just going to repeatedly hit you with a bow and arrow. Oh, you tickled me. Ooh, ow. See how much damage I took there. Oh, and that did a grand total of 2 damage. Because of our 65% resistance to magic and then a 20% resistance to fire, yeah, heading into a gate of fiery hell actually isn't that bad for us. So yes, we need to make our way through this area and go find ourselves the sigil stone at the top of a dastardly tower. My goodness, this little guy's running at me. Hello, sir. Hello. Hey, don't hit me. I'm weak to physical damage. I don't like attention. Okay, do I know any magic that's better than that? I suppose I could just summon a Scamp instead. Here, come, fight for me, Scampy. Get it? Scampy, aim your shots better. Okay, look, Scampy, if you're going to be part of the team, you've got to do better. Don't fade out on me, Scampy. We had a moment. Yeah, this is one of the problems with the Oblivion leveling system, in that I've cheesed it so much that the enemies are now significantly higher level, and sure, I'm wearing really fancy armor, but most of my weaponry, it's still terrible. Alright, hit Flame Atronak with a soul trap. I want to steal your soul. No afterlife for you, friends. There we go. You've been sizzled, and I've captured your soul. Perfect. Now, by capturing your soul, I can start easily recharging my lovely staff of instant murder here. Alright, up the tower we go. Let me hit you with a soul trap, and then a murder. Goodness, this stick is very good, isn't it? Demora Kinreeve, you're significantly more powerful than what I'm meant to be facing in this area. Oh, is that a second one? I've got to face a second one? Seriously? Now recharge my staff. There we go. Recharge. Does that use the entire soul gem? Is it destroyed? Oh, I should have brought way more soul gems on this mission. Oh, we're in for a bad time. We're in for a very bad time. I really thought this was just going to be a wonderful walk through the park as I slowly, instantly murder people with my staff. But no. Come on, Scampy, do all the fighting for me, please. Oh, Beansy died. Okay, second Scampy, go. Come on, Scamp, do something. These arrows do basically no damage. And you've died, so I summon another one. And yeet. And yeet. And, oh, forget it. Run, run! All we need to do is get that sigil stone. We don't necessarily have to actually kill everyone. Good luck trying to catch Rianu Keeves. He's speedy. And here we are. We have the sigil stone ahead of us. This is where the fun now begins. You're going to want to drop down yourself a save game. Because what happens is when we go up to the stone and interact, the game will then give us a sigil stone with a set of enchantments it can provide. If those enchantments are not chameleon, we're going to reload the save. This allows us to infinitely reroll whatever stone we get. So here comes our first stone, a lovely humble ascendant sigil stone, and if we click on it, it gives us damage fatigue on strike and fortify fatigue on self. Unfortunately for us, that's not what we're looking for. So we just click escape and load game. So we're back once again to pick up the sigil stone, and what do we get this time, Todd? It's going to be a new one, and it's fortify health and damage health on strike. Todd, I don't want that one. Okay, third time's the charm. This is it, Todd, I'm feeling it. It's another fortify health, absorb health on strike. Todd, that's not what I want. Oh, we did it. Oh my goodness, we finally did it. It's an Ascendant Sigil Stone which provides Chameleon on self. Yes, this is it. It's fantastic. There we go. That's what we're looking for. So what we're now going to do is just allow this plane of oblivion to close, and we're going to make our way on out of here. Cool, we made it back, and I'm sure they're going to be mightily impressed. Unfortunately for them, I'm not going to actually stick around and save Kvatch, because, no, that sounds like a lot of effort. Instead, I'm going to head on over to my house, and I'm going to do some dubious things with this new enchantment that I have access to. Fantastic, right, I've cleared out my inventory so that there is only 2 items remaining, 15 weak potions of healing and an Ascendant Sigil Stone. So I'm just going to duplicate the items like so, and bam, we now have 15 Ascendant Sigil Stones. It really is that easy. Now here's the thing, Todd might want revenge on us, but there's no way he can get to me, because now I have everything I need. The Spectre Ring and the Ring of the Khajiit. These are 2 very wonderful items, and of course by equipping both of them, my Chameleon is at 60%. It's good, but it's not quite perfect. So I'm going to grab 2 pretty terrible items, rough leather boots and rough leather cuirass. With them, we're going to be able to make some sneaky boots. Wabam! Let's pop that bad boy on. And then finally, with the rough leather cuirass, we're going to be able to make the hide-and-seek world champion. There we go, our final enchantment. And just like that, when we pop on all of these items, yes, we don't have any trousers on, but that doesn't matter, because in the active magic effects, our Chameleon is at 110%. So now, with the way that we are decorated, we are unable to be perceived by anyone.
What?
And he can see me, provided I interact with him. But as soon as I stop interacting with him, this man cannot see me. He's not even looking at me. He doesn't understand why he's walking into a solid object. Quite powerful indeed. But the thing is, we can actually do some more cheesy things. You see, with a bow and arrow, we can endlessly stealth. In front of us is an Imperial Watch Guardsman who is unable to perceive me. I mean, look, I can't be detected. And so, of course, I can just shoot him. This causes a little bit of a problem because he has been attacked. But he is unable to know from where he has been attacked. Do you know where I am, sir? No, you don't. You cannot know where I am. So I will repeatedly shoot you in the head for 3 times sneak damage. Where are you going, sir? Come back. Don't you want another one? And so, just like this, I can repeatedly sneak attack the guardsman over and over again. Where is he running off to? Are there any other innocent civilians around here for me to level up on? Ah, yes, here's one. Yeet. Come back, sir, please. I'd like to talk to you about your extended warranty, sir. Oh, no. I know some people talk about Vikings wanting to die in glorious battle, but no, this is the pose you want to strike. And you know what? Seeing as we're a decent enough level now, I think we go after a high-powered sword. Yeah, I think we go for Umbra. That's right. In the previous video, it was the sword we went for and had to fight a lot to get, but no, I believe as a being of 100% chameleon, we should find it significantly easier to kill Umbra. So yes, we're running straight on over to Vindazel to go and claim a mighty sword.
Yes?
Yes, hello, nice to see you. Now, unfortunately for Umbra's current wielder, I can shoot her in the head, and she's now in combat, but she doesn't know where the combat is coming from, so she must run away in a direction. Where are you going, Umbra? Come on, there we go, that's more like it. Calm down. Calm down, Umbra. Where are you going, Umbra? Come back. Come back, Umbra, please. Umbra, stop retreating. This is highly awkward if you run away. So, this is going to take a bit of time, and it is rather cheesy, but I will eventually kill Umbra. So it's time for just repeated sneak attacks of Umbra in the corner here, I think. It's not the most effective way of fighting, but Umbra can't react, so this is what we're going to be doing.
Where are you?
Where am I indeed, Umbra? Where could the arrows possibly be coming from? Look, in the mid-2000s, this was riveting gameplay, okay? Yes, finally! It happened, oh my goodness, finally. We did it! We defeated Umbra! That was indeed one of the fights I've ever done. I think we fired over 50 arrows into Umbra's body, all so that we could get our hands on this sword, the Sword of Umbra. We could do some gauntlets, I guess, and some greaves. There we go. So we now have trousers. We're significantly better dressed. So yes, we have a brand new swanky sword, and we are an imperceivable god. Oh look, there's a piggy over here. Okay, Mr. Piggy, you can't see me, and consequently, huzzah, sneak attack. Oh, you lived. Ah, you lived. 3 hits. Guess piggies are a little bit stronger than I previously anticipated. Right, so after fighting Umbra, it's become relatively clear that we're not exactly incredible. Yes, we can't be detected, which means we can't die, but we also struggle to kill every single NPC in the game. And so that means we need to get more powerful. So I have one final goal today. We're going to kill the most annoying NPC in this game. No, I'm not talking about the adoring fan. He's beautiful. We're after Lazare Milvan, a snobby Breton noble in Skingrad. But of course we've learned that our weapons aren't the most powerful, so we need a new solution of easily dispatching NPCs. And for that, we're going to fast travel up to Cheydinal. Yes, once you arrive, simply run on outside of the gates, start making your way up the hill to Fort Farragut. It's an area that you can access at any point in the game, and it's very useful indeed, because it holds 10 horrifically overpowered items. Now, of course, this is technically a dungeon. I mean, there's a large amount of undead skeletons around here and all that kind of fun stuff, but we don't need to worry about that. Instead, you're going to use your cheated security skill to just break your way through this door here. Then we're just going to run past all of these incredibly overpowered skeleton warriors. There are various floor traps to keep an eye out for, but, you know, we can just dodge past most of those. And then finally, at the end here, we have ourselves the special room. In this little space here, you'll actually find the bed of a Dark Brotherhood associate, and this is where he's been hiding out and doing a fair bit of work. But most importantly, in the corner here, we have this little barrel. And inside this barrel, oh, it's 10 poisoned apples. Now, you might be thinking that, a poisoned apple doesn't exactly seem that powerful. After all, if you check the game's Wikipedia, all it does is 10 points of damage per second. Most NPCs in the game have more than 10 health, so that's not exactly going to be useful. Well, the special thing about the poisoned apple is its effects are permanent, and it ignores all poison resistance. This means that if an NPC consumes a poison apple, they will die. Now, this barrel does restock after a certain amount of time. However, a real intelligent sausage will just be using the item duplication exploit to grant themselves an infinite amount of poisoned apples. So with our poison apples secured, it's time for us to head on over to Skingrad and meet this highly annoying gentleman. And just down the road from our entrance, we have the home we're looking for. Lazare Milvan, yes. Here he is. Hello, let's say hi to him.
You are obviously of low birth.
How incredibly rude. This is literally the equivalent of Nazim from Skyrim, and that means he's just distasteful.
Leave me and I will spare you.
Now, he tells me to go away. Now, that's quite rude indeed, but instead we're going to do something different. We're going to engage in a little bit of theft. You see, by crouching on down, we are of course undetectable, and in this state we can do some pretty sneaky things, like take all of his food away, which is exactly what we're going to want to do. Now, NPCs in Oblivion are fully simulated. They have day-night cycles, whereby they sleep, wake up, and eat food. However, if there is no food to hand, the NPCs must find food and consume that instead. In my case, I've basically taken away all of the food that this gentleman can have access to. Sorry, Lazare, there's no food around. And now, with my level 100 sneak skill and perfect invisibility, I'm going to do a cheeky little bit of reverse pickpocketing. Yes, we're going to take one poisoned apple and place it inside of his inventory. So now we need to do is wait for his designated time to eat food, which in the case of this gentleman is at 8 p.m. I know he's a little bit of a late eater. So we're about to wait until 7:58 p.m. and in just 2 minutes time he is going to start his dinner time, which is fantastic. Why is he just following me around? Sir, you can't actually see me. AI, just stop pretending that you can see me.
Excuse me, but you have to leave now. I need to lock up.
Now, because it's nighttime, he's asking me to leave his house, which is understandable, even though he technically can't perceive me, but, you know, it's just the game bugging out. So yes, we'll leave the house, crouch on down, and then immediately go back inside. At which point he should now be ready for dinner. As we have removed all food in the world, he now takes the poison apple outside of his inventory and eats it. And just like that, we murdered a man without actually murdering him. Now, when the guards come along, this man died of purely natural causes. What a shame. The poison apple has absolutely no counter in Oblivion. There is nothing that any NPC can do to stop Rianu Keeves now. If this is their only source of food, they will eat it at some point, and then they will die. With this, we can kill anyone. Right, and there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. We've proven that the Oblivion Remaster is indeed a perfectly balanced game. We have taken Rianu Keeves from a level 1 scrub and transformed him into something incredible, something imperceivable. Of course, there are so many more exploits in Oblivion that I've discovered over the last few days, and I'd love to show them off if it's something you're interested in. So hop on down to the comment section and let me know if you'd want to see the adventures of Rianu Keeves continue. Anyway, as always, thank you very much for watching, and a special thanks to all of our Patrons and YouTube channel members for making this all the more possible. And I'll see each and every one of you in the next one. Have a lovely day, and goodbye for now. Perceive me, but you know, it's just the game bugging out. So yes, we'll leave the house, crouch on down, and then immediately go back inside. At which point he should now be ready for dinner. As we have removed all food in the world, he now takes the poison apple outside of his inventory and eats it. And just like that, we murdered him. Welcome back to Oblivion Remastered, a game that proves Bethesda's best business moves are when they just repackage an existing product and sell it again. But of course, there is one thing Bethesda is good at. It's creating a game filled with so many bugs and glitches, it becomes a work of art. I'm, of course, the Spiffing Brit, YouTube's greatest exploiter and breaker of games. Now, previously, we conjured Rianu Keeves into the game and used a few overpowered features to make him 100% invisible and provide him with an infinite supply of gold, items, and poison apples that instant kill anything in the game. However, just because we made a character that can't be perceived and can trick people into eating funky fruits does not mean we've created an unstoppable godlike entity that can solo anything in this game's universe. So today, I'll be using many unintended features to create the true god of video games, Rianu Keeves. Grab yourselves a nice warm cup of Yorkshire tea and salute this picture of my corgi as we're about to begin. But first, a disclaimer. Welcome back into the game, ladies and gentlemen, where we're going to be taking Rianu Keeves from what is a invisible sausage who's relatively powerful into a being that simply cannot be stopped and will quite possibly destroy the universe. Actually, wait, why is he standing? He should sit down. Let's have a sit in this comfy chair. Yes, there we go, that's more like it. So my mission today is rather simple. If we take a look at our stats, we're relatively okay. We have a decent amount of magicka, we have a decent amount of fatigue, and an acceptable level of health. However, that doesn't mean that we can actually play this game very well. Trying to defeat various bosses is going to take forever, and there are some enemies that can't be defeated by a poison apple. Right, let me whack this rat. Jeez, come on, I'm doing a pathetic amount of damage. I'm sorry, but sir, I am swinging Umbra, an incredible weapon, and yet it takes me a decent amount of time to kill a rat? Yeah, this is not exactly a very good sign at all. If a rat's able to put a decent dent into our hero, then we're not exactly going to be much of a hero in the first place. So yes, we need to begin our glorious adventures, and we're going to make our way to a very important area. So, welcome to the lovely wintry Bruma, ladies and gentlemen. Now, up there on the mountain, you'll probably notice there's a lovely big building. This is the Frostcrag Spire, an item added as a DLC into the game because people were so frustrated having to go through the entirety of the Mage Guild questline just so they could make their own spells. So yes, this building now exists. In order to make it work, though, we are going to have to travel our way all the way up, which is fine because I can do this lovely little hopping technique. Yes, look at me go. I'm such an acrobat. Look at this place. A gravity-defying structure perfect for a wizard. And fantastic. Now that we've discovered it, we can fast travel here whenever we want. If we look off in this direction, this is actually Skyrim, I know. There's dragons over there, Jarl Balgruuf, and all of that nonsense. Anyway, right, this is Frostcrag Spire. Quite simply, in order to unlock it, you can just waltz on in and, yes, try and pick the door. Or in my case, because we exploited the lock-picking mechanic last video, I just press auto attempt once and I'm in. Now we have to do is read this book, which tells us how to use Frostcrag Spire, and it will magically reveal what we have ahead of us. Yes, special magic. Come on, bring this wall down. Huzzah! Yes, this is the environment where all of the best game breaking takes place. If you see in this area, we have access to several key important things. The Atronach Altar for creating some very overpowered summons, the Altar of Spellmaking for making some overpowered spells, and what we're going to be using to break the game, the Altar of Enchanting. And we're going to exploit a bug to push enchantments to a level beyond even Todd Howard's comprehension. But we are going to need some mage tallow candles to use any of this equipment, and that means we're going to have to go and buy some.
Stop!
Oh dear.
You violated the law.
Oh dear, I've immediately found a guard.
Serve your sentence,
Okay, I can
or
pay a
stolen
fine.
goods.
Oh, it's only 1,000 gold. Yeah, sure. Imperial Watchman, have my gold.
Okay.
So yeah, in the last video we did kill a few people and potentially get a small amount of a bounty. But a 1,000 gold bounty after murdering like 12 people feels actually pretty good. Right, now in order to buy these Mage Tallow candles, you are going to need money, and in order to get money, the best way is to sell items to merchants. But maybe you've just spawned in, maybe you haven't watched the last video, and so maybe you need items to sell. Well, it's actually quite simple. You don't need to go exploring through dangerous dungeons or completing quests. No, all you need is an empty wooden box. Simply find yourself a lovely crate. Go into this lovely menu here and take everything out of it. Then inside of this box, just put something of relatively decent value, like say this Ring of Khajiit worth 4,700 gold. Then in order to duplicate it, we're simply going to drag our big stack of items where we have 34 dwarven arrows onto this Ring of Khajiit, press enter, and then after we do that, we simply click on the Ring of Khajiit, bring it back into our inventory, and now we have 34 of them. There you go, we have just basically summoned matter out of thin air, and most importantly, it's expensive matter that merchants want to buy. So into the Mystic Emporium we go.
I hope I can help.
We now approach the lovely merchant here and sell him a few of our Rings of Khajiit. There we go, now that we've got some extra gold, we're going to be able to have a chat with this wonderful NPC who loves us and buy all of the upgrades for the Frostcrag Manor.
Pleasure doing business with you.
Make sure to grab the Mage Tallow Candles box, of course. Oh, we are also going to need some other things. We're going to need some grand soul gems. Luckily for me, I duplicated quite a few of them earlier, so I can buy 102 of them for 51,000 gold. Perfect. We are now at the point where we're able to start executing this exploit. So all we're going to need to do is travel on back to Frostcrag Spire and get ourselves set up for a little bit of creative gameplay engineering. Now, Rianu Keeves ultimately is the most powerful entity any video game has ever seen, and we really need to have that properly represented. We need to show true power, true unstoppable prowess, the kind of which that could break any game. And the way in which we're going to do this is quite simple. Firstly, we need to get ourselves some Mage Tallow candles deployed, and now we can actually do some enchanting. The way it works is quite simple. I can put in an item, I can then put in a soul gem of some kind, and then pick an effect to be applied to this item. For example, I could add some fire damage to this iron sword, maybe have it do an extra 100 damage every single attack. However, in our case, we don't want an iron sword. No, we want something that is significantly more flexible. This is a necklace. Necklaces are much better because you can put significantly better upgrades on them, including some pretty terrible ones, like for example, fire damage on